Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be one of my most requested videos, I think. I finally got around to doing it, and it's going to be, if you could tell by the title, my favorite must-have makeup brushes. I do have a super old video on my channel about my favorite, I think it was just face brushes, but just pretend like that doesn't exist because I don't think I use any of those brushes anymore. Anyways, I've got a lot of really nice brushes that I really like to use, and these are the ones that I do use pretty much on a day-to-day basis. And when I was going through my brushes to pick out which ones to talk about in this video, I realized that most of them are kind of more expensive or high-end, but I do have quite a few drugstore ones as well, and I realized that they can actually kind of be dupes for the more high-end ones that I have too, so that's kind of cool. Oh yeah, by the way, I have a new background. Bet you guys noticed that right off the bat. Let me know if you like it. I hope you do because this was a bitch to get up, so I really hope I don't have to take it down. So I'm not really going to talk about any brushes in any specific order. I think I'm just going to start with the face brushes and then work my way to the eye brushes because I do have way more eye brushes than face ones. And if you're interested in any of the brushes that I'm talking about, I am going to go through and list and link all of them down below, so if you see one that you like, you can look in my description box and just click on the link and it'll take you there. Alright, let's do this. First of all, I just have to get this out of the way. Beauty Blender is my favorite way to apply foundation. I use this 99% of the time. Every once in a while I use a foundation brush, but I can't not use this. It's the best. Alright, now for actual foundation brushes. When I do use a brush, it is the Smith 115 foundation brush. Right off the bat, I have to tell you guys, a lot of these brushes are going to be by Smith. Not that this is sponsored or anything by anyone, I work with Smith from time to time, and I freaking love their brushes. They reached out to me over a year ago, it was probably almost a year and a half ago, to send me some brushes, and they have honestly, I am 100% serious when I say that these brushes have completely changed how I do my makeup, and they've helped me improve so much. It's so true when you hear people say that the tools really make a difference. So using really nice makeup brushes will make your makeup application so much easier and look so much better. So this is actually a duo fiber brush. It is part synthetic and part goat hair, which I know a lot of people don't like to use brushes that have animal hair. That's okay. I understand that. Some of the Smith brushes actually are synthetic, which I will get to later, but for now, this is their foundation brush. When I first got this, I actually used this for powder contour because it is the perfect shape and size and density for that. It fits really nicely in your cheekbones. I do still sometimes use this for that, but after I learned from the owners how to accurately use this for foundation, haven't gone back. So what I do is I squeeze the foundation onto the side of the brush, and then I use that to lay it down, and then I'll turn it on its side and buff it in circular motions. It just makes a really nice, flawless foundation application. If you're interested in learning more about these brushes by Smith, I will link a video down below. Samantha Ravindal invited the owners of Smith to her place to do like an informative video on the brushes, and it's really cool, so you guys should definitely watch that. Alright, my next favorite foundation brush is actually one that I've had for a really long time, and it's from the drugstore. It is the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. This is the only drugstore brush that I like to use for foundation, but I also like to use it for powder contour. And when I was looking at this, I realized that it's actually pretty similar to the Smith brush that I was just talking about. Their size is pretty much almost exactly the same. The only difference is this Real Techniques one is a little bit more dense, and this one is just a little bit more soft. I don't know exactly how much this is, but the Real Techniques brushes are very affordable, and they're really good for the price. So now I'm going to get into some of the face powder brushes, and the first one I have here is the Real Techniques Multitask Brush. I use this pretty much on a daily basis when it comes to blush because it's the perfect size, and it's not super dense, but it's not super loose, so it really blends out your blush really nicely without depositing too much product. So I mainly use this for blush, but I also do like to use it for bronzer sometimes. If I just am in a rush and I want to put a little bit of warmth on my face but not have to spend time like chiseling out my cheeks and everything, I'll just dip this in some bronzer and just like blend it out really quickly, and it does a really good job. So similar to that one is the Real Techniques Blush Brush, and this is kind of like that but larger and not as dense. I like to use this for blush that is super pigmented because it doesn't pack on too much color. And then sometimes when I do use face powder all over my face, which is very rarely, but sometimes I do, this is a good brush for that because it's so big that it takes up a lot of space when you're putting it on your face, and you can do it in like 2 seconds and be done. So this next one is my favorite powder highlight brush, and this is the Eve Pearl 110 Fan Brush. I haven't really used too many brushes by Eve Pearl, but this is the real deal. It is so good at applying highlighter. It's really soft. I've had so many fan brushes that are hard, and they don't move. They're not flexible when you put it on your cheeks, and it's like, why would you want a fan brush that doesn't move the product around? I have no idea. But this one is really nice and soft, and it does a really good job of just blending out the highlight. Alright, so this next brush is going to be one that I use for seriously like 6 different things. It's kind of crazy. If I were to get rid of all my brushes, actually no, I can't imagine a world like that. If I had to get rid of all my face brushes and just pick one to keep, it would be this guy. This is the Smith 112 bronzer brush, but let me tell you, I use this for everything. I use it for setting powder under my eye because it's that perfect, slightly domed shape. I use it for highlighting because it's also the perfect size for that. Sometimes I'll use it for blush if I just want to put a tiny bit on. Mostly though, I use this for contouring. It is the brush that I always reach for when I contour, so it's just the perfect size to really get in there underneath that cheekbone without blowing out the contour too far. And then also sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I will take some translucent powder on this brush or just a base eyeshadow and just run this over my lid because I can do it in like one swipe and be done. Like I said, I use this for literally everything, and it is really soft. It's made of goat hair. It is just perfect, and I like that it's black because it doesn't, well, obviously it does get dirty, but you can't see it. So I have a couple more powder brushes to talk about. First one is the Real Techniques Duo Fiber Contour Brush. I think this comes in a set. I don't know if you can get it individually. I have no idea. I will still list it down below either way. I don't use this for contouring. I don't know how somebody would use this for contouring. It's just too small. What I do like to use this for is setting powder, like under my eyes, like the Smith one. And then also highlighting as well. So it's just perfect size. It's really soft and nice, and I really like it. And then this is an oldie but a goodie. This is the e.l.f. Studio Blush Brush. I used to use this one every single day, like 2 years ago, but I ended up throwing it away, and I just didn't really think to get another one until I was in Target the other day and I saw this. And I think they might have actually improved this brush a little bit because it seems different, at least the handle does, and I think it was $1 more than it used to be. It's kind of got like an arrowhead point to it. This is perfect for getting right under your eye. That is the only thing I use this for though, is just setting powder. I don't really use this for anything else. This next one is the Sigma Soft Angled Contour F23. Why do they have to have the name and the number? I wish they could just do the number. That would make it so much easier. A friend of mine actually gave this to me because I was staring at it at the IMATS booth and I was like, oh my god, I need that in my life. And then she got it and gave it to me, so that was really nice. This is perfect if you're in a hurry to contour. I don't use this on a day-to-day basis unless I'm in a rush. So I will just like dip it into my contour really quick and then just go like that a few times, like that, and then just really quickly blend over my forehead. It's so big that it gets the job done in like 2 seconds. It's awesome, but when I need more time on my makeup, I will use the Smith 112. Alright, so let's move on to eye brushes. My favorite ones by far that I have are the blending brushes by Smith Cosmetics. There are 4 of them. First one I'm going to talk about is the 232. This is their largest blending brush. This is the large crease brush. If you were to get just one of the Smith blending brushes, I would say to go for this one. I use this to apply an all-over base shadow. I use this to apply the transition shade in the crease. It is the perfect size to just get like the right amount of transition color in there. And I also use this after I have all of the colors in the crease to just blend everything in so it looks really nice and seamless. These blending brushes are all goat hair as well, so they're nice and super soft. And I'm telling you guys, when I first got these and I used them, I feel like my blending got like a million times better. I'm not joking. These are no joke. These will make your eyeshadow look so much better. This one is the 230. It's the small crease brush, so it's practically the same thing as the last one, but just a smaller version of it. If you have less lid space to work with or just smaller eyes in general, this is a really good one because it is smaller and it can get right in there really nicely without blending the product out too far. I like to use this one for putting in the darker crease color. Like if I already have put in my transition color, I'll go in with a darker brown or whatever if I'm doing a neutral look and just make this more concentrated in the crease. And then I'll go back in with the 232 and blend them out even more. So this is really good if you have smaller eyes or if you need a brush that's a little bit smaller so it doesn't blend out the product too much. This third one is the 235 Flat Quill Crease Brush. It is flatter than the other two, hence the name, and the tip is also kind of coming to a point. I really like the shape of this one. I don't know between the 230 and this one which one is my favorite when it comes to blending out the crease colors, but I really like this one because I can hold it at an angle since it does have that kind of slanted edge and blend it this way. And it ensures that you will blend the product up and not onto your lid. So that is really, really unique about this brush. I think it serves a great purpose. It's really cool. I love it. And then the last blending brush is the 247 Flat Round Crease Brush. This is pretty similar to the other blending brushes in terms of the job that it does, but the tip doesn't come to a point like the others. It's just a slightly rounded top. And this is actually really similar to the MAC 217, which I do have here, but it's not one of my favorite brushes. It used to be until Smith came along. The 217 is a little bit bigger, but as you can see, they're both about the same height and the same width, and they do have the same rounded top. This one is a million times better. If you guys have had the 217, try this and it will blow your mind. It's crazy. So this next blending brush is from the Drugstore. This is the Sonia Kashuk number 109. And this was actually one of the first blending brushes that I ever bought. I got this at Target, I think 3 or so years ago. And I have loved it ever since. It's looking a little bit like it's seen better days just because I've washed it so many times that now the bristles are starting to like lean over to one side. But it's still great. I still love it. I think it was under $10, so it is a really good deal. This is also just the perfect size to blend out a transition color in the crease. Anything that doesn't need to be too precise, this is great. So these next few brushes that I'm going to be talking about are the ones that I use for what I call concentrated blending. So sometimes brushes are so big that they just blend out the crease colors way too much. And when I want a color to just stay right here in the dead center of the crease, I like to use a really, really small, round, dense brush. So like this one is the Sigma E39 Buff and Blend. I love this because it's super dense, it does not move too much, it's not super flexible, but it is soft and it does feel good on the lid when you use it. And this just does a really good job of keeping that color right where you place it and not blending it out and losing all of the pigment. It's also a good size for turning on its side and buffing out the color underneath the lower lash line, but I do primarily use this for the top lid. So I actually have 2 Drugstore brushes that are pretty much exactly like that Sigma one that I just showed you. And the first one is this NYX B15 eyeshadow brush. It actually looks almost identical to that Sigma one. That's kind of crazy. I would say that this one is a little bit more fluffy, this one is a little more dense, but I mean when you look at it like that, it looks exactly the same and it performs pretty much the same way. And then similar to that is the Sonia Kashuk number 116. Pretty much the same exact thing. It's a little bit softer than the Sigma, just like the NYX one. So this next one is probably my favorite eye brush that I have. I honestly have no idea how I went so long without it. When I got it, I was like, this is what has been missing in my life. It's the Cosette S185. I don't remember the last time that I did a video that I didn't use this. It is amazing. It is so small. It's like the tiniest blending brush that I have. Perfect for under the lower lash line, and it's really hard for me to find a brush that's that small and that soft. It just blends it out so well, and I think these are relatively cheap as well. So like I was saying, perfect for blending out the lower lash line, but my favorite thing to do with this is to do the concentrated blending. I know I keep saying that, but I don't know what else to call it. So when you want to put something in the crease that doesn't get blended out too far, this brush is just the perfect size. It's so good. Another brush that I like for the lower lash line in the crease because it's so small is the Real Techniques shading brush. This is one of my first brushes that I got for the eye. I have like 4 of these for some reason, don't know why, but I'm glad that I do because I'm always reaching for this one. I use this for so many things. It's a perfect size to blend out the lower lash line. I use this to apply product in the inner corner. I use this for the crease, like I said, when I don't want it to be too blown out. I use this to apply color in the outer V section. If you need a cheap, good eyeshadow brush that you're going to use for like 5 different things, this is the one. So this next one is something that I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not. This is the Shade and Light Eye Contour Brush by Kat Von D. I said that really weird. This is a dual-ended brush, and usually I really don't like dual-ended brushes because I store my brushes like this, so I have to jam one side down in there, so I always have to pick which one to sacrifice. But I really like both brushes on either end. On this side you have a really tiny little, very pointed pencil brush, which is really nice. This is great for the outer V. It's good for getting product right up near your lower lashes. It's good especially for inner corner highlighting, which is what I use that for the most. And then you have another dense rounded blending brush on the other side, which is great. I love it. And then for a cheaper alternative, this is the Crown Brush C476. It's essentially the same thing. You got that pencil brush on one side. This one is not as small and as pointed as the Kat Von D one, but it is still nice. And then this is the other end. It's kind of similar to the Kat Von D one, but it's wider and it's not a rounded shape. So now I'm going to talk about brushes that I use to lay down product on the lid. So these 2 are by Smith Cosmetics, and these are essentially the same brush. One is bigger, one is smaller. That's the only difference. The smaller one is the 253. This guy is the small lay down eyeshadow brush. And then the larger one is the 256. I really love both of these and I use these both on a daily basis, but if you were to just get one, I would suggest just getting the smaller one, the 253. If you have smaller lids or you just have less space to work with or you're using this to apply product in your inner corner, the small one I just get more use out of. So these are made of pony hair and the bristles are pointed to a tip. This is the perfect shape to really get into your eyelid, like in this inner corner. It's just shaped really perfectly to get that product really, really nice in there so it doesn't transfer up here to your crease. Okay, I have a couple more that I like to use to apply eyeshadow on the lid. This first one is the Sigma Medium Sweeper, the E54, and it's more rounded at the top and it's really soft, but it is nice and dense so it doesn't like move everywhere as you're applying the eyeshadow. Similar to the Smith one, it's just the perfect size to get on your lid. Also use this underneath my lower lash line, just like all of the other brushes pretty much that I just talked about. And this also is a really good size to get under that brow bone if you're highlighting up there. So similar to that Sigma one is the C210 Small Chisel Fluff by Crown Brush. I think this is still available, but I got this in a set of brushes about 3 years ago, but I'm pretty sure that you can get it individually, and if you guys have shopped Crown Brush before, these are like maybe $2–3 a piece. They're really, really cheap, but they are pretty good for the price. So this is similar to the Sigma one that I just talked about. As you guys can see, it's a little bit smaller and it's a bit more dense and not as soft, but this is still really great for applying eyeshadow on the lid and underneath the lower lash line. Alright, moving down to the smaller brushes now. This is the Smith 212 Tight Liner brush. It's made of synthetic sable, so like I said, we're getting to more of the synthetic brushes by Smith, so if you're interested in that, these are what I'm going to be talking about from now on. So it's a really thin, densely packed brush, and this is perfect for tight lining. If you use gel eyeliner or like a really creamy gel pencil, you can just run it over the product and just use this to pack it underneath your lashes. So I use it for tight lining, but I also like to use this to clean up underneath my brows when I do that. I really don't too often, but when I want like a perfect looking brow, I'll take concealer and just work this underneath. It's a perfect size, perfect shape, and it's so sharp. So a cheaper brush that's really similar to that one, but it's a little bit bigger, is the Royal & Lane Nickel Flat Eyeliner BC450 brush. So this is essentially the same shape as the Smith 212, but it is larger, obviously. I forgot to mention, I also really like to use these types of brushes to apply eyeshadow as close to my lower lashes as possible. Like if I'm doing a blended out, like gradient ombre lower lash line, like black to light blue, I'll apply the black right up here and wedge it underneath my lashes and just kind of scoot it along like that. And it's really handy to use a really, really thin brush like these to do that so you don't blend it out too far. So Smith recently came out with 2 new brushes, and they are the angled liner brushes. They're the same thing, just different sizes. These are also synthetic sable. So this 203 is the micro angled liner brush, and this is the only one that I use for eyeliner. So when I use gel, I'll use this brush and I will never be able to go back to anything else, I promise you. It's the tiniest, sharpest, most perfectly pointed winged liner brush that I've ever seen in my entire life, and I'm obsessed with it. It just creates the perfect winged liner. It is so hard to get like a nice crisp line when you're doing it, and I know it can be so frustrating. This brush will change your life. And then the 205, like I was saying, is pretty much exactly the same thing, but it's probably about twice as big. You can also use this for winged eyeliner if you want. It's a little bit too big for me to use it for that, but what I do like to use this for is my brows. It is 100% my new favorite brow brush. It's just the perfect size to fill it in, and then I can turn it on its side and it's still the perfect length to like create some hair-like effects. These two are some of my favorite brushes by Smith by far. If you were to just go for one though, like if you only wanted to try one size, I would again go for the smaller one because you can use this for your brows as well. It'll just take a little bit longer, but I'm telling you, you need this in your life. So the last 3 brushes that I have to talk about are lip brushes, and I constantly use lip brushes, especially when I'm using like a bullet lipstick, because my lips are pretty small, and if I use like a full bullet on my lips, it's gonna go everywhere. So I'll usually go in with my Smith 302 lip brush. They also have the 304, which is a detail lip brush, both made of synthetic sable. This one though is kind of curved to a point, so it fits perfectly along your Cupid's bow. And it just covers more area, so I usually use this one, but if I need to just clean up a little bit of my lips, I'll use the 304, which is a lot smaller and it's just rounded. These are just by far the best lip brushes that I've ever tried. They're so thin and they're pointed to such a fine tip that they're not gonna get all over the place. It's just gonna create like the cleanest lip line ever. Alright, last brush. Oh my god, I'm so freaking sweaty. Like my thighs, I can feel them sticking to my seat right now and it is not pleasant. Last but not least, this is the Real Techniques accent brush. I got there. This is a really tiny detail brush. I like to use this sometimes for my lips. It is not as precise and clean as the Smith ones that I just showed you. And then I also like to use this like the flat ones that I showed you a few brushes back to really pack up black eyeshadow right underneath my lower lashes. Alright you guys, so that is all of my favorite brushes when it comes to face brushes, eye brushes, lip brushes, all of the above. Wow, I feel like that was 900 years long. I hope the video wasn't too long. I hope I can condense this. I just really wanted to make this video actually informative and hopefully helpful to you guys rather than just like picking up a brush, showing it to you, then moving it on to the next. So I really hope you guys liked this video. Thank you for requesting it. And let me know what your favorite brushes are down below. Leave me a comment. I would love to know. Like I said, I'll list all of the brushes that I talked about down below in the description bar if I can find all of them. There are a few that I'm kind of like, I don't know if they're still available. Fingers crossed that they are, but go ahead and look down below and hopefully all of them will be there. Alright guys, I will see you in my next video. Bye!